Hey, what's going on, everybody? Thank you all for joining us tonight. This is going to be a fun time. Well, I've got a couple of my good friends that are going to join us in just a moment, and we're going to take a look at Verifire's new 1/350th scale USS Atlanta Kit that has just recently come out. Like I mentioned in a show a week or two ago, we did get a small shipment of them a couple of weeks ago. So some of you might already have this kit, so you'll be able to go through it with us if you like. And those of you that are still waiting, I got word just today that our container ship is passing through the Panama Canal this weekend. So if everything goes smoothly, we should have them here in the next 2, maybe 3 weeks. So hoping that that actually happens and we'll be able to get everybody else's kit out to them. So the guys that I've got on here tonight are good friends of mine. I've known them for a long time. They actually do, let's see, Chris, you can correct me if I'm wrong when you get on here. He does 350th and 700th scale ship models. And Martin, he really, I think, Martin, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think his favorite is 350th scale. So let me bring these guys on and they can tell you a little bit more about what they're into themselves. Let's see. Hey, guys, can you hear me?
Yeah. Hi, good evening.
All right. Nice to see you, Martin. Nice to see your model kit, Chris.
I've got one camera right now with the setup. We're kind of in a transitional period right now with the house, unfortunately.
There you go. Well, hey, that's no problem. It's good to have you guys here. And so you both got one of the deluxe versions of the Atlanta Kit. And I've got a deluxe here myself, and I've also got the standard, so we'll be able to see what the differences are. But give me your initial thoughts of the kit. What do you think?
Chris, go ahead.
So I went ahead because I'm a bit of I have a compulsion to do this. I went ahead and did a fit of the kit, and I'm impressed. I mean, the line here is almost non-existent. I wish I could get it closer, but if you hold the kit closely together, I mean, the fit itself is pretty impressive. I was a little concerned with the little 5-inch guns when I saw that they had the side slide mounted separately. But again, just a quick dry fit, the mold line effectively disappears, and with some liquid cement, it'd be great. Shape-wise, I'm not an expert on this particular class. It looks nice. I'm not a big fan of seeing the anti-skid pads molded on. I prefer decals, but I understand from the perspective of most builders out there that would be something to be preferred than, say, like Dragon stickers that I remember the immense frustration of trying to get them straight. But I mean, overwhelmingly, especially with the photo etch, with everything else, the only thing I see myself really replacing here, if I were to go completely aftermarket, are maybe the 40 millimeters and the 1.1s, because I have problems and I want to go for maximum tiny detail if I can.
Yeah, I mean, so far from what I've seen, I am impressed. I think the hull plating's, I know that's the big thing with manufacturers now doing this hull plating. Yeah. But I do think it's a little overstated on most models, but it's not too bad. It's not too bad, although they always seem to forget to do the bottom of the kit. They stop at the edge of the hull. And they never do there's intakes and sea chests at the bottom of the ships too. Be nice to see them do that as well, especially for the guys who like to do full hull models. But I mean, overall, so far it looks nice. My biggest complaint, I have to echo Chris, is that these molded on skid lines on skid pads on the deck are just they look like oversized weld seams for a 35th scale tank.
Yeah, I'm looking at that now.
Those will be the first thing that I scrape off. And I think some enterprising manufacturer or vendor or entrepreneur, Brendan, should come out with a set of decals for these that would replace these and make non-skid decals for U.S. Navy ships, because I think that would be a big seller for ship modelers.
Hey, Mark.
In both 700 and 350th.
I'm pretty sure that there was a company, it might have been one of the ones that Brandon has brought into his massive board cube, but I'm not 100% sure. But I know that I have a set of decals for anti-skid pads. I just don't remember who made them.
I remember those too, but I can't remember who did them right off.
Dunnigan decals.
Okay. Is that who did it? Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Huh. Now, do y'all have any of Verifier's other kits prior to this one?
Yes, I
Not
have
yet.
Cleveland and I have Tejo.
All right, so not from a specifically Atlanta and how good or bad this kit is, but from a relatively new manufacturer's point of view, can you see any improvements in this over their previous releases? I mean, are they improving things? Are they listening to the community and everybody that's saying, "Hey, do this better, do that better"? I mean, you know what I'm asking?
Yeah, so about 4 years ago, they came out with a 350th scale Missouri. This is worlds better than that kit. I mean, that was a nice kit, but this is much better than that kit. I'd say it's on par with the Cleveland, although it's not quite as nice as the Tejo, which is really a really spectacular kit.
Okay.
But I mean, I'm looking at some of these slide molded superstructure pieces, and they've got really nice watertight doors and portholes with eyebrows, and there's nice detail all the way around here. But I would say that to answer your question, yeah, they're definitely progressing. Each kit is an improvement over the last. I would put this on a par with the Cleveland, which is a nice kit.
Okay. Well, one of the main reasons I wanted to ask your opinion on that is I see a couple people here in the live chat talking about they want to do the San Diego and the Juno and all that. So I spoke to Verifier just earlier, and I asked them a question, and based on their response, I'm going to assume that it's okay for me to announce this, but they are actually releasing the USS San Diego next. And that's going to be available, I don't have an exact date, but sometime in the first half of 2023. So that is going to be the next kit that they release, and they will follow up with another kit of this same class later in the year, and I don't think they know exactly which one of the kits is going to be after that. But San Diego will definitely be next, so it'll be pretty exciting to see that, because I know there's a lot of people that were talking about doing a conversion for this kit or whatever, but you don't have to, as long as you don't mind waiting a few more months.
Yeah, I know there was a model. There was a company doing already working on a conversion for the bridge for San Diego, because it is a little bit different. But from what I'm reading online and looking at references and talking to other modelers, you should be able to pretty much do a Juno right out of the box with this one.
Right. Yeah, did you take a look at their decal sheet? You can probably get a pretty good idea of what they've got planned for next year by just looking at that.
Yeah, it has the 4 first members of the class on it,
Yep.
although they do call it the Atlanta class, not the Atlanta class.
Did they really do that?
They really did
On
that.
the decal
Oh
sheet.
yeah, I see that.
Atlanta class. Although I do like in the deluxe set, they do have a nice little nameplate for the Atlanta on here.
Yeah, that nameplate was kind of nice. I was a little bit surprised how nice that was, actually.
Yeah, it was nice. And you know what? It looks like it's numbered too. Mine says number 252, so I guess it makes it sort of a limited edition type of thing.
Yeah, mine's 237.
Well, look at
Let's
you,
see.
the higher number.
I've got 161. Haha. So here's something that I found a little bit interesting that is not included with this kit, and this was just brought to my attention the other day. There's no display base in this kit. Now, me personally, I always mount these on some brass pedestals or something like that. So I don't think I've ever used the kit like in a trumpeter kit, you know.
I usually go in recycling.
Yeah, I do too. But it was interesting. We had a customer the other day asking where the display base was in there, and I just had never thought about that. But if you like using kit part display bases and not providing your own, you're going to be out of luck in this kit, because there's nothing in there.
Ask someone who has a trumpeter kit, because I see that oftentimes popping up on forums where people are looking for those to use with kits that don't have them. Or ask them with a 3D printer. Problem solved.
There you go.
These masks are a really nice touch in the
Agreed.
kit to have the masks so you can paint your deck and then mask it off and then paint the rest of your ship.
Now, to be
Especially
clear,
if you're going to be ambitious and try that splotch camouflage scheme for Measure 12 modified that you wore.
now those mask sheets are only in the deluxe version, Martin. Let's see.
Oh, all right. Lucky me. Yeah, that's a really nice touch. I like that a lot.
So I'm looking in the standard kit. This little piece of photo etch here, if you can even see that, that's the only sheet of photo etch that's included in the standard version.
Those are the boat shocks and whatnot, right?
Yeah, and the little cable reels and all that kind of stuff. The other three, the three bigger sheets, those are only in the deluxe version.
Now,
And go ahead.
are you aware of any of these items being offered aftermarket by Fairy Fire at a later time? If someone wants a deluxe kit or a standard kit to be upgraded, or
Just knowing how these kind of companies do, if they think that somebody will buy it, they will probably put it in a box and stick a part number on it. So
Nice.
I don't have them available that way right now, but I'm sure down the line that would be an option.
I have to say one thing I really love, and it's something that I really started getting addicted to with Pontos, are the masks. Because I like to taper my masks if I can to make it look more realistic. And, I use, for those of you who know him, Jim Bauman's method to just use basically a Dremel and a piece of sandpaper and a block to kind of slowly but surely taper it. And it's just, I break more than I do. And having that included in the kit that's accurate to the shape is a nice touch.
Yeah, I just picked my bag of masks up and they are nice. It makes a huge difference when you build a kit, because the parts in the plastic, they have no, they look okay, but they have no definition. And then once you see them side by side, something like the brass turned parts for the first time, if you're like me, you can't go back.
No, I agree with you. So, and the turned brass parts in this kit, in the deluxe kit, are, they're hard to see, but they are fantastic. These masks are really well done, and there's a lot of parts. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 5 bags of turned metal parts with barrels and looks like stands for the 20 millimeters. Gun barrels for different size ships, yard arms, and masts. So it's really an extensive set of turned brass parts.
Okay.
Honestly, the only aftermarket I could see myself going for, the 1.1s, I'd be happy to buy something from an aftermarket company there. And in this particular kit, that's it. I feel like from an aftermarket perspective, this is, from a 99% perspective, this is a complete kit.
Yeah, if you get the deluxe version, there's everything you need, unless you're a hyper detailer, to build it out of the box. Looking at the detail on the side of the superstructure and the side of the funnels, these vents on the side of the funnels, they're hard to see, but the vents on the side of the funnels are really well done. They look really nice, and the detail. Again, there's some of this non-skid treading on the superstructure decks that'll be easily scraped off with a chisel or an X-Acto blade. But the detail on the sides of the superstructures and underneath the platforms is pretty nice.
So real quick, I got a question from somebody who's actually in the feed. There are brass yard arms and there are little like ticks and whatnot on the brass where you attach things. So you don't have to sit there and measure and guess. And there's a degree of stability when it's gluing when you actually slide that yard arm into the mast.
That is helpful.
I love how huge these instructions are for the deluxe version.
Yes, they are extensive.
Yeah.
Do we know what aftermarket company is doing the photo etch? Because I'm suspecting by the way that they use colors, I know who it is.
I think they do their own because they produce a whole bunch of just detail sets on their own.
Yeah, to my knowledge, Chris, they are.
Yeah.
I could certainly be wrong. But and I just got notice here that the deluxe version or just the aftermarket parts that are included in the deluxe kit, they are on the price sheet for Verifier. So apparently we will be getting those. So if you bought the standard version and you wish you had bought the deluxe version, you're not out of luck. You'll be able to get it and I have no idea what the price is yet, but I'm sure that it'll be just about the same, if not the same, as buying the deluxe version. So
Yeah. These directions for the photo etch set
yeah,
should be easy for people to follow their photos, step by step, showing you where to add the parts. So, and I see that's a trend now with some manufacturers where they actually use photos other than drawings. And like on here, it'll show you where to remove the parts in shaded colors and then where to put them on. So it should be pretty easy for folks to follow along and be able to use the upgrade set. And it's a combination of photos and drawings.
right. Yep. Yeah,
Which is really nice.
Yeah, they make it real easy to know. Because I know when I first got started doing photo etch on my ships, it was hard sometimes to decide, okay, do I glue this together before I do the photo etch? Do I do the photo etch first? Do I have to scrape this off? And the way some of these companies are doing this now, like this, it's really easy to know where you need to follow the kit instructions and where you need to follow the photo etch instructions.
Yeah, I'm looking at the
these are a little lacking though.
They are?
The color instructions. They give you a pre-war when she was in standard gray, but this this one for the camouflage she wore when she was sunk is sort of imaginary.
Yeah.
Put it nicely. But that's never, I think most of us who do this type of stuff, who are, a little bit obsessive about it, we have our references and we don't count on this.
Right.
We find our own references and make our own masks and do stuff like that. That is something I would like to see another enterprising entrepreneur do is masks for ships. So, when you're painting something like that, you can paint it and then mask it off.
Well, I know a guy that is interested in figuring out how to get that done.
I'm sure you do.
He has lots of other things going on at the moment.
Slacker.
I was about to say something. I think that something like this, just because of the shapes, like vinyl stickers might be good.
For doing a mask?
Or what do y'all think? Or do you think we should, just a standard mask like you have in the kit? If you were to say cut something so you could do this splotchy pattern.
Oh, I don't know. For me personally, I really love this, whatever we're calling this kind of material.
Masking tape?
Yeah, it's almost like a very thin Tamiya masking tape.
Exactly. It's like they got a big roll of Tamiya masking tape and cut it out. I mean, that's my favorite. I've used the vinyl stuff before, and maybe I'm just not very good at it, but I get bleed go up under it. And I mean, it wouldn't be that big of a deal if you had a smooth surface to work with, but with all these panel lines and just all this stuff on the kit when you're doing that camo pattern, like I said, maybe I'm just not great at it, but I really have good luck with the Tamiya tape, or whatever the term for this kind of tape is.
Yeah, the problem with the vinyl stuff is that it doesn't want to stick to curves and it always lifts. And it just doesn't want to behave itself. I find that this type of material much better to work with as well.
Right. Do you ever use like silly putty or anything like that?
I bought some of that AK stuff to use, and I've yet to use it, but I want to on something with a sort of a wavy camouflage. I plan to try it, but I just haven't gotten around to it yet.
Yeah, I've done it. It works pretty good. I actually stole my kid's silly putty and used that, and it worked. So I don't know.
Dad of the year.
Yeah.
Well, especially if you have like a diffuse camo pattern, I feel like that silly putty would be really good, like you have in the Richelieu, right? As I know the straight edges, but you have that kind of that gradient.
Yes, exactly.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, it's looking at the accessories of the weapons here. I mean, it's sort of obvious that they're, unless this is just their generic weapons fret that they're including in all the kits. There's 40 millimeters on here with everything and 20 millimeters. So being that these early class only carried 1.1s, it's sort of a clue that they were going to do another later version anyway.
And they're really nice, honestly, like for plastic parts. Do you all notice, so a couple of my barrels in my 40s look like they weren't exactly cast well. Like I have some that are shorter. Break my phone and see if it's just. Yeah, I've got at least one of these that isn't usable, unfortunately.
I've got a couple in here too that have Either they've got a little bit of flash at the end of the barrel, or they're a little short shot. I can't really tell.
I have both.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I do too.
I will say though, these like the fire extinguishers. I mean, the details on here. I mean, the depth charge launchers are incredible. I mean, even the little 20 millimeter guns on here are almost good enough for government work. I mean,
Did you see the little life rings?
Yes.
These are great.
Yes, they are.
Reminds me of fine molds
Yeah.
in the best possible way.
All right, so be honest. Would you build this kit out of the box, or are you still going aftermarket?
I always go aftermarket.
Martin?
You can build this. I think most modelers out of the box. You know, for guys who just like ship modeling and aren't hyper or super detailers, even the standard edition they'll probably be happy with, because some guys don't like photo etch. But if you get the deluxe version, in my opinion, unless you're a hyper detailer, there's
Right.
everything you need here to build this kit. You don't need anything else.
Okay.
It just depends on your level of the finesse that you want. And like Chris said, maybe the weapons could be upgraded, but
You don't need it.
that's really if you're picky.
I mean, honestly, the 1.1s are really pretty. I mean, I don't see the same sort of flash or barrel issues on these. All these barrels look perfect. It's fret G if it helps. You got the torpedo tubes on there too.
Oh, okay, I saw that one.
Which again, another really nice part.
I just saw the torpedo tubes.
All right, I'm going to answer a couple of these questions in the chat real quick.
Yeah, get those and then go out. Just do something different and leave them there.
The torpedo tubes.
All right, let's see. Going back through here, Sean, yes, the San Diego's is on the decal sheet. What brands of colors are called out? I don't know.
None.
Let's see.
None. They don't.
Oh, Mr. Hobby.
They don't-
Mr. Hobby.
Yep, Mr. Hobby.
Oh, okay, yeah, I see that now.
Lauren Perry sets are clear. They are. He did a great job on his sets for sure. Let's see. Atlanta was commissioned late 41. A pre-war paint scheme seems unlikely.
No, there's pictures of her on her trials off Maine. She's wearing standard gray, so that is accurate.
Okay, there
You
we
just
go.
have to make sure there's no, she might not have been wearing 20 millimeters at that point. Probably not, but she definitely wore standard gray at one point in her career.
It means the kits are hot. That's why it's called Very Fire. There you go.
Sean, thank you for that tip. I'll try that. Same to you, Alfred. I will give that a shot. All right. Yeah. What does very fire mean? We always joke about that around here if it was a Chinese translation or something, but it's like you said, Chris, very hot kit. All right. I'm going to take my headphones off and I'm going to walk out in the warehouse and grab some aftermarket stuff.
Hi, Martin.
Hi, Chris. So I'm thinking that some of these parts are, and I don't really want to run down to my basement and pull the Cleveland out, but I'm definitely thinking that some of these are sprues from the Cleveland, because these the cranes on here are definitely more akin to a Cleveland class than they would be to an Atlanta class. They're probably their standard weapon sprues then. Hence all the 40 millimeters, because there's enough 40 millimeters in the box almost to build a much larger ship.
Veterans.
All right. You see where I'm headed?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, so let's see. 1.1s and 5-inch 38s. We'll take those in there.
How many 1.1s are in per box, by the way? Are they 4?
4, I think.
Let's see.
You know, I'm interested. Have you spotted them on here
Yeah,
yet?
4.
If they have Mark 44 directors on here?
I haven't looked that closely.
Because that would be the correct director for a 1.1 inch gun. And the only place I know that you can get a a Mark 44 director is in the veteran model set.
Which until Brennan got us all this shit, was a pain to get.
What is that now?
So the early ships in the war that carried 1.1 inch guns, the director for the 1.1 inch was a Mark 44 director.
Okay.
I was wondering if some of these are supposed to be the Mark 44, because the only Mark 44 that I know of aftermarket is in the veteran models 1.1 inch set.
Well, I've got one of those. We'll take it back in here and I'll pop it open and we'll take a look.
Yeah, Martin, I've got a box right now that I'm using to prop up my camera. Some of the screws are in the box, which is why I went off camera for a moment. I don't see the director, but that doesn't mean it's not here.
And there's some little directors on this. Where's the camera? Oops. On this sprue right here, there's a couple of directors, some small ones, and these might be supposed to be the Mark 44s right there.
What screw? Which one is that? What screw number?
G.
G.
Yep, just below the boats. There's I'm always moving the wrong direction. Right here. I'm assuming these are supposed to be the Mark 44s. Above the rangefinders, there's two small ones that look like little rangefinders, and they might be the replicas of the Mark 40.
Well,
Mark
let me
40.
grab the instructions to see if you build them.
Yeah, I'm looking for that now. And it does come with an anchor chain, which is nice.
Which is awesome.
Which is blackened already, which some kits don't do. And also looking at the instructions, given all the holes you have to drill under the deck and stuff like that, it's pretty clear they were planning other versions.
Hey, and this anchor chain is not round links.
I thought I saw mine was.
Isn't it? Or is it? You know how you get some of the aftermarket chain and it's just straight up circles?
Hey, I could be wrong, but I don't see the gun director on the instructions other than, I mean, they have a gun director, but it doesn't look much like the Mark 44.
Well, it's their interpretation of it, maybe. There's not a lot of, unless you really know where to look, there's not a lot of good pictures of it.
Well, so I don't know how well anyone can see this. So this big.
All right, Sean says page 9 of the instructions.
Well, if you look on page 8, they put one of those little directors right behind the aft 1.1 inch gun. So I'm assuming that is the supposed to be the Mark 44 director.
Let's see.
Yeah, they don't look much.
Because G34 goes into tub I-31, and that sits on the aft deck just behind the 1.1 inch gun tube. So those are allegedly the Mark 41 directors. And you know what? They'll be passable for most people. Some of us will probably be like, nah, I'm going to upgrade, but other people will probably be like, yeah, that'll do. Yeah, that's the part. Mark G34, bingo, is the Mark supposed to be the Mark 44 director.
Yeah.
You know what? I'd rather have a slightly inaccurate Mark 44 than them putting a Mark 51 in there, which would be completely incorrect. And you can see it on page 9 too, on either side of the superstructure where the 1.1 inch guns sit. You can see it as well. So kudos for them for at least getting it partially right. Another interesting thing I noted with a lot of some of these newer kits now is you'll see it on a lot of U.S. Navy ships. There's these cylinders, canisters around the superstructure, and I see it's a thing now to include them in the kit, which is a nice little detail because it is there. Hobby Boss did it on the Alaska, Joy Yard did it on the Missouri, and they do it right there too. They have the little cylinders going on the sides of the superstructure. So nice attention to detail.
It's nice to have to deal with those in little tiny bits of brass and photo etch when you're trying to go aftermarket. I mean, what they have in the kit's perfectly acceptable.
Yeah.
Now,
One thing I
Chris,
did notice looking at the, so if you look at the
Deck?
underside of the stern, there's all these holes in there to drill holes out for whatever different fit you're building. But if you flip it around and you look at the top of it, now some of this will be hidden by equipment, but there's a lot of, and you run your hand over it, you can almost feel it. There's there's bumps on the deck from where the impressions in the mold are. So, but I think with most of the equipment there and a coat of paint, it really won't be and railings and stuff, it won't be that noticeable. I do actually, the other thing I like too is that all the bollards are separate. They're not molded on, they're separate pieces, which would helps with the masking and stuff too.
Well, if you're removing all the skid plate, a lot of that will be sanded off as well, if that's a choice you want to make.
Mm-hmm.
what are the?
I really think the hardest thing that's going to be with this is painting the camouflage pattern on her if you're going to do her as sunk. Or you can be a little bit even more ambitious and paint her at the time of Midway when she was completely in measure 12 camouflage, not just the hull, not just the superstructure, but the hull as well.
That's enough.
There's a great picture of her sailing alongside Hornet during the Battle of Midway with two of the best schemes ever to grace U.S. warships. That would be a nice diorama. Come on, Chris, you can do it.
Haven't you seen the USS Nebraska from World War I? You can about the greatest paint scheme ever on a U.S. warship. It's a freaking it's flat.
I'm a big measure 12 modified guy. Some of those I know our buddy Sean, he loves the scheme on Augusta, and Tuscaloosa has a nice scheme. There's a lot of handsome measure 12 modified schemes out there. Nebraska is pretty wild, but that, if you have that could cause someone to have a seizure. That scheme.
Here's a question from Alfred. He wants to talk about the hull plates again. We talked about it right when we got started, but we can revisit that. I mean, what do you think? Overdone? Not overdone?
Slightly overdone.
Yeah.
Again, look, I built the Merit Enterprise, and that's really overdone. And in the coat of paint, it doesn't really look that bad. So I think once you paint this, after you get the hull assembled and you paint it, I don't think it'll look too bad.
Well, and also think about the way this is kind of a satin finish on the hull, right? The actual plastic. When you dull coat, a lot of that light that's diffusing off the surface is not going to be as noticeable.
That's true.
And the only reason I'm paying attention to that is my newest non-ship obsession are tiny figures, and I'm noticing just how even your finishing can completely change the way that the model looks.
Have you ever, this is one of those things I might get slapped for saying, but have you ever used a really, really thick coat of primer to kind of downplay overdone detail like that?
No.
You hadn't?
My problem is...
Although I've seen people, I think one of the first ship kits to come out that had the hull plating was the Hasegawa Nagato. And the bulge actually has no hull plating on it. And I've seen some people have used primer, they've masked off the rest of the hull, and they've used primer very heavily on the bulge to eliminate it, and then just built the rest of the kit. So it's an option, but again, just under a regular coat of paint, this will look fine. Okay.
My only issue with that is, so I use the same method on my Queen Mary that I did for a Jutland fit to kind of simulate her armor belt in the Combat kit. You have those sharp lines because you have masking tape, right? But if you keep spraying on layer after layer of primer, you're not going to have like this delineated shape. You're going to have a blob because the paint's going to stick to the sides of that object that's sticking straight up. So I fear, you could get rid of it to some degree, but I feel like the hull's going to look like you just painted too thickly.
It's all modeler's choice,
Yeah.
It's up to your taste. If you don't like the hull plating, you can just get you can probably get, some sandpaper and scrub it down to either lighter or remove it altogether. It all depends on your taste. I mean, to me, the hobby's about having fun, and as long as you're enjoying yourself, sand it off, leave it, add to it, whatever you want to do that makes you happy. As long as it's your model, build it the way you want to.
So, all these accessories I just went and got. The veteran stuff, you've both used that. And one of my favorite things that is torture, but I still love it, are these Master Models 20 millimeter guns. Have you ever built those?
Oh yeah.
Oh, it's horrible. But they look so good when they're done. I did a 350th Montana one time and used these for that. I think it took longer to build these than it did the rest of the ship.
Model.
Yeah, but they look really good. But did I see, what did they do for the 20s in their Deluxe set?
They're very similar.
Yeah,
to the
that's what
Master Models.
that's what I
They
thought. But I
have,
saw the little, yeah,
They
the
have
little
20
pedestals.
millimeter. They have 20 millimeter pedestals in
Yeah,
here, which is a
that's-
really nice touch.
Yeah, so you may not even need the aftermarket if you want to go crazy with the 20s.
So we were talking about the Master Models. This is almost functionally identical to what Master Models
Which
has.
page
So
are you
these
on there?
are torture but beautiful.
Oh, the first page. Yeah, that is extremely similar.
Well, how many ways can you build a 20 millimeter? So
Yeah, I know.
it's also not that much different than the way Arsenal's photo etch and resin 20 millimeters are put together. So there's really only so many ways to skin a cat.
Right.
Were the surviving members of the class toward the end of the war, were they refitted with the tripod 20 millimeters at all, or did they maintain the pedestal?
Off the top of my head, I don't know, but
Yeah, I don't
usually later in the war for weight savings, they would move to the tripod mount to save weight. That's why some ships have shielded 40 millimeters and some ships don't to save weight.
I was just thinking if you try to do a late war San Diego, that might be an issue. But I think there are aftermarket companies that have the appropriate bases.
Well,
Yeah, this photo etch set has a lot of nice little details in it. Like it has the little baskets for the back of the 5 millimeters to catch the shells. It has flag bags. It has enhanced parts for the Mark 37 radars. It's got the whole wind deflectors around the superstructure are here in brass with tiny little brass pieces to keep it away from the superstructure. Cranes, as we spoke about, there's masts and yard arms, plenty of railings. It's a very extensive set. SC radar for the top of the mainmast.
The bracings in the bottom of the tubs are absolutely beautiful.
Yes, they are pretty nice. The only thing I'm not sure of is by the time of Guadalcanal, I don't think she still had her full complement of boats because they realized that they tended to catch fire and splinter and kill people. So,
Like on the Port San Francisco.
well, like Quincy and Astoria and Vincennes. So they, you have to check your references to make sure, because I think actually on Atlanta and Juneau, they might have removed the boats and put 20 millimeters there by the time of Guadalcanal. But again, it depends on how accurate you want to be, what you want to invest into the model, and you just need to check your references.
and David's
And
got a
there's
question
good
here.
book on the Atlanta class out.
I'll just answer this real quick, David. The Bunker Studios 20s. Yeah, everything Bunker Studios makes is really nice. And as far as 20s goes, Alfred says he prints his own. There's so many options for these things these days. I print my own too. We've got our own line called Blue Ridge Models, and these just came off the printer. And so anybody with 3D printers, that's a thing that you can do. If you don't have printers, there's so many options for them. Another one of the sets that I brought from the back was the Black Cat models. They're printed. The Larsenal ones you talked about earlier. There's so many companies out there doing 3D printed stuff now.
Yeah.
But it's no need to reinvent the wheel, but you got many choices.
Yep. Here's a good reference for if you're building these ships,
Yes.
warship perspectives, Atlanta class.
I forgot about that book.
Yeah, I've been meaning to actually pull it out, and it comes with a big set of plans in the back for I forget which ship. San Diego.
Well, so let's summarize this. The basic kit, not the deluxe. I mean, if you're not the kind of guy that wants to go nuts with photo etch, I think the basic kit is a pretty decent kit. And if you do want to do the whole 9 yards, I guess we're saying that it's really got everything included that you would really need.
Yes,
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
I would agree with that. Yes.
Well, I guess all that's left now is we've got to build them.
Yep.
What's
Yeah,
that?
looking at some pictures in this book, and this
Yeah.
is showing. It's hard to see, but it's showing San Juan. It looks like the boats are gone by late '42. So there's in the back of the book. There's a nice color photo of either San Diego or San Juan in the South Pacific in late '42, and she has the boats are gone. So again, just check your references.
Sean says he just got the same book out.
Copycat.
There you go. All right. Well, is there anything else you guys want to add to this at all?
Look, this has been a holy grail kit for a lot of people for a long time. So to actually see it and to hold it in injection molded plastic is a win. A lot of people have wanted this kit. It's been at the top of the list for a lot of people for a long time. And I think Verifier overall has done a nice job on it. And I think a lot of people are going to be happy that, if you get the deluxe kit, there's plenty of stuff in here for you to super detail. And if you don't want to, then you don't have to. Again, my biggest knock against this kit is the molded on skid marks, and it's not just on the deck; it's on the superstructures too. So, but oddly enough, on the superstructure, I don't know if you can see it. On the superstructure, it's not as bad. It's almost like a completely different. Trying to turn it in the light so you can see it.
Like they did it a different way.
It's completely different in the width of it as well. Like
Yeah,
if you
the
look
width
at
of it, the depth of it, like the stuff on the superstructure, you could probably just leave. It's not that bad, especially over a coat of paint. It looks much better and much more realistic, but the stuff on the deck is just looks like some guy with an attitude and a welding kit just went along the hull and just welded a big line around it. That's my only nitpick with the kit is that, but that'll come off pretty easily. And like I said, once some enterprising entrepreneur comes out with decals for it, you'll be good to go.
I'll take that as a challenge.
You got to do the curves too. That's gonna be the pain.
Well, where there's a will, there's a way, right?
Right.
Yeah, a lot of people didn't think this kit was going to happen.
Well, there were rumors that they went belly up and that this kit was canceled. So.
Well, those rumors were true, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know all the ins and outs, but basically whoever owned it all of a sudden didn't own it and it was gone. And whoever owns it now, I don't know exactly how they came about it, but it's new owners, new everything. So.
Good. Well,
they
I'm just
got as
hoping
far
that
as
Go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say, I don't know how they're going to do, but they've got as far as getting us in Atlanta. So they're doing good so far in my book.
Yeah. So I just hope they sell enough of these so they can do the 350th scale mid-war HMS Renown that they had announced a couple years ago. So that's my holy grail kit.
Yeah, well, we're able to work really close with them. Years ago, when they approached us at Blue Ridge Models about importing their kits and helping them decide what to do, they thought I was nuts when I suggested a Montana, but they agreed to do it, and it ended up being one of their best sellers. So I guess they figured I know a little bit about what I'm talking about. So, and I told them to do it in Atlanta, and fast forward, what's it been, like 3 or 4 years since I floated that idea. Here it is finally. So it's pretty
I think
cool.
a lot of people
Yeah.
like.
It blows my mind how much gaming has really influenced the hobby. Like you have all these what if designs that are just absolutely flying off the shelves.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Well, let's see. They also said they'd do a Brooklyn class. I think a lot of guys would, who like this kit, would also like a Brooklyn class.
Yeah, there's so many kits left that have not been done yet. Just when you think they've all been done, they're just not even close.
Well, I know Chris wants to see another Bismarck or two, but
I don't want the Titanic core. What I would love to see is a Pensacola or Salt Lake City in general, because the options we have are inaccurate and terribly inaccurate. So I'm about to break out my 3D printer, I think, and start playing with ways to make the former midship kits better, possibly.
Well, we'll see what happens. Well,
it's a great time to be a ship modeler. That's for sure.
Now, Martin, you are still going to do your standard review
this
that
will
you
be
do for model
reviewed,
warships.
Yep, this will be up on Model Warships by December 1st, hopefully,
Okay.
or the first week in December. It'll be a review. And thank you very much for you providing the review sample for Model Warships. We very much appreciate it.
Absolutely, yeah. So modelwarships.com, if you guys have not seen that, is a forum-based website specifically about ship models. Martin does a lot of reviews there. Chris, I believe you've done some reviews there. You can go check out his review of this kit, and he's reviewed many other ship models. I think he knows a little bit about what he's talking about. So go check that out. And guys, I really appreciate you getting on here with me tonight. Look forward
My
to
pleasure.
talking with you more about this ship later after you spend a little bit more time with it, perhaps build it. And am I going to see this in the contest room in Texas next year, Martin?
Well, if I can fit it on an airplane, maybe. Otherwise, no. I might
you
have to
go.
go 700 scale for next year.
There you go. All right. Well, any last words, Chris or Martin?
No, thanks for the opportunity to talk about the kit, and thanks for the review sample. It was fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I appreciate it, and we'll talk to you next time.
All right,
Appreciate
be well.
All right, guys. Well, thanks a lot. I really appreciate you hanging out with us tonight. We've got a lot of exciting news here at Squadron coming up soon. Squadron, Free Time Hobbies, all of it. And lots of things going out tomorrow. The highly anticipated F-35s are going on the UPS and the post office truck tomorrow. So your tracking numbers will become active. You'll have those sometime next week. And stay tuned for more excitement as we have some more things to unveil soon. So I appreciate it. Y'all have a good evening.